Hello, fellow Doomers. Welcome to the most underrated channel that you can't find on YouTube. I do hope you find the following video interesting and informative. Now, everybody's heard of the big bad boy, El Nino, but not many people pay attention to his little sister, La Nina, who is currently exerting her influence over the equatorial Pacific at the moment. The strengthening trade winds are causing a lot of cooling of the eastern Pacific Ocean surface temperatures, and this trend is continuing, and La Nina is strengthening day by day. What effects does La Nina have on the world's climate? Are we witnessing a negative feedback as the planet tries to cool itself down? Will we have a record La Nina this year? So what can we expect in the coming few months? Going left to right, southern US and Mexico should be drier than usual, but no rain at all. Expect flooding in the north of South America. A lot drier than usual around there. Well, there's a lot of fires at the moment, so that's not going to help. Spain and Portugal and southern France are going to be a lot drier than usual next month or two. South Africa can expect some flooding over their summer or winter. And that's January to March, so into the new year, expect some flooding, more flooding in India. And at least Eastern Australia is going to get plenty of rain, which may subdue any chance of forest fires for this for their summer this year. Let's take a look at the impact on global temperatures during a strong La Nina event. I expect these areas to expand because I think this La Nina is going to be a record breaker. So for the northwestern United States, Alaska, and western Canada, we're going to have really terrible freezing winter, and the extreme snowfall has already begun. From January onwards, this area of colder than normal temperatures will expand all across Western Europe, causing a severe winter in this area of the whole of Europe, basically. Don't expect any record-breaking temperatures in South Africa in the coming few months, but look to the southern Indonesia and New Zealand for their maximum high temperature records to get absolutely smashed. I'm going to concentrate on the disunited kingdom for my next segment. Extreme weather. October downpour sees UK's wettest day on record. Ooh, she's going to have a wet bum. Saturday, the 3rd of October, was the wettest day for UK-wide rainfall since records began in 1891, Met Office researchers have said. The downpour followed in the wake of Storm Alex and saw an average of 31.7 millimetres of rain across the entire UK. The deluge was enough to exceed the capacity of Loch Ness, the largest lake in the UK by volume, the researchers added. The previous record wettest day was the 29th of August 1986, and that was one hell of a soaking summer. It's been a year of stark contrasts across the UK when it comes to rainfall. Two named storms, Ciara and Dennis, helped push February to the top of the records as the wettest ever in the UK. Raindrops are falling on my head. This was followed by a very dry and bright spring that saw May break the record for sunniest calendar month with 266 hours of sunshine. But a middling summer has been followed by a drenching autumn across much of the UK. In the wake of Storm Alex, the heavens opened almost everywhere. The main characteristic for October 3rd was moderate but persistent rain, and it was very widespread, said Dr. Mark McCarthy from the Met Office. Look at this here. Hedgehog found with plastic embedded in neck. Fuck off! Poor little creatures have fucked everything up. Fucked the whole planet up. Right, back to this. We had 30 to 50 millimetres of rain quite extensively across large parts of the UK that day, and that's quite unusual. If all that rain was collected together, he said it would overtop the UK's biggest lake by volume. Here's the good bit. While the previous record came during the very wet summer of 1986, the third wettest day across the UK was on 15th of February this year with 27.2 millimetres. So 2 of the 3 wettest days ever in the UK have both been this year. So do these heavy downpours across 2020 show the signal of climate change? Duh! And then we get the usual shit spiel, what they fucking blurt out. We can't make any definitive statements specifically about the attribution of this particular event on October the 3rd, said Dr. MacArthur, climate-denying bastard. There's a general expectation that under our warming climate, we would expect to see increases in some types of extreme rainfall and rainfall events, and we're expecting to have wetter winters overall. We could expect increases in these types of extremes, well, no doubt. While the record for the wettest day on average across the UK stood for 34 years, it might not take so long to break it again. How about next week? Over recent decades, that we have seen a cluster of notable rainfall records in the last sort of 10 to 20 years in quite a long rainfall series. So it would fit with the general pattern that we're observing and aspects of what we would expect continued climate change to lead to. Oh dear me.
Epsilon.
I'm going to show you something really weird now. So just take note of the shape of the Greek letter epsilon, like a curly letter E. It's like a 3 backwards, a backwards 3. Here's the latest 5-day forecast for tropical storm wind speed probabilities of Hurricane Epsilon in the Atlantic Ocean at the moment. It's currently Category 3, southeast of Bermuda, with sustained wind speeds of 115 miles per hour. Look at that. Look at the shape of its path before it became designated a tropical storm.
Epsilon.
Looks like we're in for a stormy couple of weeks here in the UK, according to the GFS forecast on wind speeds. Here we go. Ooh, bit windy. Ooh, look at that. Ooh. Here's another one. Look at that. Boosh. Another one. Boosh. Batten down the hatches. Look at that. Storm after storm after storm. Let's go over to the National Data Buoy Centre. Yay! You can see we've got one buoy flashing away in Event Mode, but I checked it out. It's just a rogue wave. Nothing exciting's happened. But all the yellow ones are active stations showing recent data. The red ones are stations with no data in the last 8 hours. Now, what I find interesting is after the large 7.5 whatever earthquake off Alaska recently, all the buoys were set in motion, registering a small tsunami, including this one, which was flashing and which was yellow, but now it's gone red. And this particular buoy was showing some unusual readings, to say the least, which won't pop up now. At the time of the earthquake, it was showing a more than 40-metre swing in wave height, which carried on for almost 24 hours. And then they cut the feed. So nobody can see what's happening. Isn't that strange? I wonder why they've cut the data. And what the hell was going on? The earthquake was in this area here, I believe, and this is the buoy with the strange data. But now they've cut it. That's nice of them, isn't it? This buoy here off the coast of the border of Canada and Washington was showing signs of activity a few days ago. It was on the 17th, so it's gone off the feed now, and nothing's happened since. Well, that's right on the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. As you can see, there were 2 events, and both signified quite significant drops in wave height, and there was no rebound after. Or signs of something going on there off the west coast. Right, I'm now going to talk about what may turn out to possibly be the worst ecological disaster to unfold ever to date. A Venezuelan vessel carrying 1.3 million barrels of oil is tilting, and it could lead to a catastrophic oil spill. So, a Venezuelan oil tanker has been parked for nearly 2 years in the Gulf of Paria, carrying approximately 80 million gallons of oil. New photos of the vessel show it appearing to tilt heavily on its side, leading to growing concerns of a potential environmental disaster that threatens one of the richest areas of biodiversity in the world. According to local politicians and activist groups, the Nabarima is carrying about 1.3 million barrels of crude oil, about 5 times the amount the Exxon Valdez famously spilled in 1989. 5 times as much. The vessel is part of a joint venture between Petróleos de Venezuela and Italy's Eni SPA. The vessel has been stranded in the Gulf since January 2019. An Eni spokesperson told Reuters that the company was seeking to offload crude oil from the vessel, but was waiting for the green light from the US government in order to prevent any sanctions risk. Oh well, we've got to worry about the sanctions risk more than any environmental consequences. We've got to put the sanctions risk first, haven't we? You've got to think about the economic cost, not the environmental cost. On Monday, environmental group Fishermen and Friends of the Sea, which represents 50,000 fishermen in the local industry, pleaded with the Caribbean community to work together to protect the region and people from a possible disaster, emphasising the need for a clean, healthy sea. Oh, those days are gone, I'm afraid. Gary Aboud, corporate secretary of the organisation, visited the vessel on Friday and said what he saw was frightening. Video taken by Aboud shows the boat tilting at an angle he estimates at about 25 degrees. These are not false images. No one is doing anything, Aboud says, with the tilting vessel behind him. He called for a national emergency. In a record-breaking hurricane season, a massive oil spill would threaten the entirety of the southern Caribbean. A huge coral reef system, already stressed by climate change, could be damaged beyond recovery, eventually leading to a collapse of the entire marine ecosystem. So I went over to the well-known site Vessel Finder and looked for the ship, the Nabarima, where it's been moored for the past 2 years. This is the ship here, which is full of oil and tilting over, and I found its coordinates. So here's Venezuela. Put a little place mark on. The exact coordinates are where the ship's moored. Smack bang in the middle of the Gulf of Paria. That's a lot of crude oil if that goes. You've got the whole. It's an enclosed space. it's going to be an awful disaster. I googled San Fernando, Trinidad and Tobago beaches. So these are the area that's going to be affected if when it spills its load. It used to be such a beautiful place. The white sands will be turned into black sands. Bloody awful. In my latest cow fart report, I showed you this graph, which where the blue line represents the methane concentrations this year so far compared to the methane concentrations from 2019, last year. And I did remark that it had gone along around about between 10 and 13 parts per billion, tracked above the levels last year, day to day. Now, you would expect this difference, which is the increase this year on last year, to remain fairly constant throughout the year. So, for instance, if it was showing 10 parts per billion higher this year in February than it was in February last year, you'd expect it to be 10 parts per billion, or perhaps a little bit higher because it's rising slowly in November this year than November last year. So you'd expect this difference to be fairly constant. So I constructed another graph of the difference between this year and last year throughout the year, according to the data I've collected from the NOAA website. But rather than being a straight line, as you would expect, you can see that it has varied considerably. We went from over 13 parts per billion higher this year than last year at the beginning of April, and just about 3 weeks later it plummeted to just 8 parts per billion higher at the end of April this year compared to the end of April last year. And since then, you could draw a line of best fit. It's more or less the straight line you would expect with the variations. But I really don't know how to explain this at all. All the measurements are based on from near the ground level up to 300 millibars, the whole atmosphere. Right, it's now 3:35 a.m. in the morning. Well, I've got nothing better to do, so I thought I'd do a video, cover a few things I wanted to show you. I'm gonna put a little tune down in the comments for you to listen to and enjoy. All my favourite tunes can be found in my playlist on my channel under Mushy. All my favourite tunes are there. If anybody wants to talk to me, have a chat about anything, there's an email in me about bit. Have you got any ideas about this graph? Yeah, I'll be more than happy to reply. Just before I go, I'd like to show you this graph, which shows how many deaths have been attributed to the common flu since the beginning of the epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, corona panic, which began here. 0. 0 deaths from flu since the COVID pandemic started. Just have a think about that and let it sink in. Every single person since April that's died of the common flu, they've put it down on the death certificate as you know what. And there's the proof. And this graph was brought to you by Public Health England. From the government. Thank you very much. Oh, nearly forgot, just before I go, this has come out on the 17th, a few days ago, on Science Alert. Physics, graphene reveals a super rare form of magnetism when 3 layers combine together. For something that largely exists in just 2 dimensions, graphene seems to be everywhere. The super thin wonder material is famous not only for its incredible strength, but also its unique, surprising mix of thermal and electromagnetic properties. This is very interesting, and I'll leave the link below along with my happy little tune, which you'll all recognise. But the reason I want to show you this is because it reinforces my theory that everything is made up of tiny little energetic vibrating loops. There's no such thing as matter. Matter doesn't exist. And it's the way that the atoms come together and line up. And here we go. Because graphene is made of pure carbon. Carbon is not magnetic. Remarkably, we can engineer this property by arranging our 3 graphene sheets at just the right twist angles, therefore saying that if you line the atoms up, if you line them all up the same way, no matter what material it is, because everything's just made up of little loops, and if they're all lined up, they will exert a force, whether it be magnetic or gravitational. And there goes, bang, goes my theory. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. And for those of you that think that 2020 is bad and you're wishing your lives away, well, I'm sorry to tell you, 2021's going to be worse. Thanks for watching. Love you all, everyone. Till the next time, if there is a next time. Goodbye.